How is everybody?
Doing
Good
good.
afternoon, everybody.
Excellent, we are.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay then, so again, apologies for being a few minutes late or a minute late. I'll crack on. I can Hi guys, sort my screens out. Where are we? Come on, Jim. There we go. Okay, so I'll just run through a few of the takeaways from last week until we get everybody on board. If I can remind everyone to drop their name into the agenda document, please, as the roll call. We seem to be getting good at that last week, so that was brilliant. Again, our usual quick reminders regarding how fantastic we're going to look to everybody in the world, and I believe that we are shared on Telegram on a few other channels, so the live stream is up. Is that correct? Tell them, I guess the live stream is up. Yeah, cool. Okay, and no doubt we are recording. So a few of the takeaways from last week were French translator. I've not seen on the Slack whether we sorted that, but Azad, I think you were having a look at that. White paper and the Telos operating agreement needs to be translated again. Need to finalise those, so I'm sure people are working on that. And then there was this notion of the community bounty rewards. So I don't know whether the team is going to come back to that. We did make a notion here that we were going to discuss the exact numbers of payouts. So that's something that we might be coming back to today. And we asked for more weekly wins for the team so they could promote us. Hopefully we've been getting those. If not, if you could come back to us with that on the call and reiterate that, that'd be great. Chairs were asked to communicate to Johnny regarding the onboarding system, so hopefully that's been working. Johnny might be able to, I know that you've written something on the call for today. I think there was a plea to Johnny regarding the onboarding system, so hopefully that's been working. GRC, so I think that's happened, so that's brilliant. Hopefully we've been getting those. If not, if you could come back to us with that on the call. And running out of meshes in Slack, that was something that I've not come across. I don't know whether we've dealt with that. Maybe we can talk about that on Slack anyway. So I think I'm going to move us on to the agenda proper now. So unless if anyone's got anything to bring up on those takeaways from last week that they think we need to mention because it's not in, or they're not being brought up. No? Okay then, so I'm looking to see if Douglas is on the call as he is next. He's coming in now by the looks of things. So if I can just sort of say to people, where are we? Yeah, the roll call's taking place. That's excellent. Thank you, guys. So, Douglas, are you there by any chance? Oh, yeah, there you are. Hi, Douglas.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, a few internet connectivity issues this morning.
Oh, that's all right. I had an ability to read the clock issues, so there we go. So, but I got here just in time, so that was good.
I get those too sometimes.
Well, I know. So, can I've done item 1, which is just me rolling through the takeaways from last week. Again, thanks to Phil for sorting those out, or Adam. I'm never quite sure which one of you guys do that. I think it's Phil. Where is he? I can't see him in the screen. So, Douglas, over to you, please, for the heads up on the weekly report.
Okay, things are going great this week. We have, testnet stage 2, which we had some problems with before, is humming along in less than 24 hours. After a complete restart, we were able to get full activation of over 21 active BPs. It's great. Rotation is moving. So if you look at our monitor has been updated. So if you look at it, you'll see a green dot sometimes, and you'll say, why is number 25 up there producing blocks? It's because the rotation is working, which is pretty great. We are looking at a few different issues here and there, little things popping up, but nothing unexpected really. In development, some really good things have been happening. Marlon Williams at at EOS Miami has been helping out. But then also we've had some help from Amplified Telos, which is a newer group for us in the last couple weeks. But they've come in strong, and they're helping out and on the development side. And so the network and development are running well. A lot of new governance documents have come out, and Adam from EOS Detroit and I are looking at those, as well as there's a lot of there's a smaller group of people who are going through those with a fine-tooth comb, but they're out there for public comment. Interestingly enough, if you make a constitution look like a user licensing software licensing agreement, people stop reading them, just like software licensing agreements. Lots of stuff is happening. I'm going to put it back over to you. It's a great week.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, I've been, as most of you know, you get a bit of the side to me. I try and pop on as many calls as I can, and I clearly do not speak on the development call because that's not my area. But it's great to see what's going on there. They're really fascinating. The idea of dropping it in and out is really cool. So I'm going to ask, I looks like EOS Detroit, Rob, can you start us with the bounty system? So you've put some stuff in there about the slicing pie. Do you want to take that away, Rob?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. So we've got a test application deployed, and this week we're testing. So if anyone would like to join the beta test, just contact me directly and I'll set you up with an account. It's mostly ready for production. I still got to put, TLS, HTTPS on that endpoint, but things are ready, and we can start putting data into this system. So basically the goal is to come up with a few onboarding documents by next week so that we can point everyone in the contributor Slack to those documents, and they can self-service onboard to the system. And it'll overview kind of like how to use it, how you typically use it, if you're a chair or if you're part of a working group. So that's the goal, and James is out. We've had a lot of good discussion about the commission, though. It'd be great to have more eyes on that. The way the app is designed, we can kind of use the numbers we have and tweak them over time, and it won't have any side effects. So we don't have to be 100% agreed on the work rates yet, and we can adjust those as we need to in the app. So that's where things are at. I would say this thing will be ready for general consumption next week.
Okay, thanks for that, Rob. That's brilliant. We did mention that in the takeaways, I think there was going to be some discussion regarding the exact numbers. Are you getting enough help in there regarding the exact numbers, or do we need people to come in and do a bit more work on that?
I think that James has done a fantastic job in the work group. There's been weigh-in from 2 compensation consultants. We've kind of put their numbers side by side and talked about that. Last week in the bounty system call on Friday, we came up with a bunch of questions to come back at them with. So we're trying to clarify and specify some of the more broader, generalized roles into more specific roles that pertain to Telos, and set the appropriate rates. So it looks pretty good and pretty fair from my perspective. It would just be that I just say the more the merrier with this one, because it's the rates we're all agreeing to sort of base the slicing pie model off. So having wider weigh-in is good. Making sure if you feel like you're serving a role and that hasn't been called out in the list of rates, we want to make sure we don't miss any roles that people are doing, so that we account for all the different types of work that are going on. I think in general we have that, though, but just some polishing touches would be good right now.
Okay, Rob, thanks for that. Well, we look forward to getting that document finalised and that system up and working. So that sounds fantastic. And, we're not even into September yet. So that's brilliant, isn't it? That's great. Okay then, so I'm just looking down my list of people who need to come in. Community rewards, there isn't anything there. I'm guessing that we can sort of skip that one because it's sort of, sorry Douglas, in you come.
Just wanted to mention really quickly that we have the community rewards pool page up now. So if you go to telosfoundation.io/rewards, you will see that the page is up with all the information. There's a little video and there's a sign up sheet, so people can go right there now and start signing up.
Okay, that's fantastic. Do we have that pinned on Telegram by any chance?
I think that's happening now. I think we're there's some question about when the actual server gets set up, but that will be sometime today.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot for that. Anybody else want to come in on that one before I skip over? Okay.
I think just to clarify as well, we've been explicitly clarifying that page is talking about the community rewards, and everything I was talking about was the founders rewards. So just to keep those separate, because I know they're easy to get confused together.
Yeah, they are easy to get confused. I've got them in my head, so hopefully everybody else has, but I'm sure just because I have doesn't mean everybody else has. Roger, do you want to come in on something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we just need to look at the HTTPS on the rewards page there, because it's only HTTP, and when you put HTTPS, it takes you to the home page. So if we could just have a quick look at that, somebody.
Yeah, we're looking at that. Anyway, that we hope to have that issue, all our HTTPS issues resolved very quickly. So yeah.
I know I'm always badgering you about it, Douglas, and we'd already covered the testnet one, but I just thought I'd flag that one because it was new.
No, it's a good thing to mention. Thank you.
Okay then, thanks guys. Development. I'm guessing there's nothing written here, but I'm sure you guys want to talk about development. Is there anybody who wants to come in? I usually like Jerry's 2 penneth here or something. Are we happy to go with somebody, please? No, nobody wants to talk about development. Okay. I'm looking at item E, outreach. Beth, Roger. I know you guys have got to be careful what we say, but is there anything that we can talk about on exchange outreach, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we've just about got everything we need to put the Bitfinex application in now. So it's like, 10-page form. It's a bit like applying for a mortgage or something, so there's quite a lot of work gone into that. So we've pretty much got everything we need for that, although probably need to find some more LinkedIn profiles for some prominent people. So that's ready. And then Jerry is volunteered to help us as the technical onboarding member for exchanges that want to talk techie. And although I'm not going to steal their thunder, the MSM group are going to announce a hashtag marketing campaign to enable exchange customers to sort of put pressure on the exchanges or encourage the exchanges to start looking at Telos. So, but I think that's going to, CJ is going to mention that later on.
Okay, thank you. So, are we happy with anything at that? All right, so. External comms, Roger, do you want to do anything on that? I don't think Beth's on the call. Is Beth on the call? I'm not seeing Beth.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Beth. You haven't got your face. You've got a logo, so that's fine. Yeah. Do you want to say anything about external comms, or are we all cool at the moment?
No, I think we're all cool at the moment. We've been pushing out a lot of stuff. We've got some new articles going out on Medium this week. We've been really just kind of focused on the community rewards pool and this hashtag campaign that's going out as kind of big picture items that we've been working on. And then we've got a whole bunch of kind of more technical things that will be getting pushed out pretty soon too. So the white paper was kind of the big PR announcement last week for the group. So everything now is just a whole bunch of additional information and kind of educational high-level things that we're working on, but we're all good.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that, Beth. So I'm going to go, well, the next one we've got down here is governance, and I think that's sort of covering off a lot of what Douglas just mentioned in his opening call about the documents. The human language contract is the first one, which we've got a link to. Do you want to talk through that one, Douglas or Adam, either of you?
No. So the new documents that have come in this week are it's a little less, it's a little different in that they're not actually the human language components. What they are is an overview of the process and how it will work. We don't actually have to have governance documents. It talks about how the actual process will work for ratify, amend, what people need to do so that we can ratify or amend any of our governance documents, which is great. And then it talks about an overview of the worker proposal system, which is very similar to the Dash version with a few special adjustments for DPOS. But I think it should be very clear, and people will understand, even just from reading that, how to submit a document, how a worker proposal, how it will be voted on, what the minimums are, and what happens if people fail to deliver. And it covers everything great because we have arbitration. It's really going to help. So I encourage people to look at those and we still, what we owe on governance documents still are the reg arbitrator and the arbitrator minimum agreements. The BP minimum agreements, they're not listed there now, but they are being worked on very hard by governance, by GRC, and also by network maintenance. And everyone's putting their heads together for a roadmap there of what we actually can have and where we'd like to get. And we're trying to document maybe 4 stages that we can move along there on those minimums.
Yeah, I think we've got those further down in the agenda, Douglas. I'd just like to say that those 2 that you released the other day, the work proposal one, I couldn't suggest on those. They were read only. Was that deliberate, or could you shift those to suggest?
Yeah, just let's take that offline, and I'll fix all problems.
Thank you. I mean, I must admit, I did read the work proposal one, and I understood it, and I would be able to put in an application. So I think using me as a guinea pig was pretty good with that. So I think that must be a pretty good start if I felt confident that I could actually do that, Douglas. So well done for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad it passed the gym test.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how low that bar is, Douglas, but yeah, you did that one, so that's cool. Okay then, so I'm going to skip over meetings in as much as that, only that the governance has now gone to 2 meetings a week, because as you know, it's a really big thing, this sort of setting up the arbitration, and we can see how sort of other people are getting tripped up by arbitration, and if we've got that in place, it's going to be so strong for us. I think that's so. All these documents that I'm reading are all intertwined into arbitration. So let's make sure that we've got that, and certainly 2 calls, maybe even more calls on that.
On that, just so you mentioned it, and because you mentioned it's not there, we actually have added a few new groups that I'd like to put the call out. We've talked about it in the group in the Slack, but I think I'd like to put the call out again. we are adding an actual group for arbitration. And what we're trying to do is not only work through these issues, but also bring in retired judges, experienced arbitrators, attorneys. You know, our goal, and actually we're already getting people to come in because we are going to have people campaign and run for arbitrator. We'd like to get that right now. So far, I think both Adam and Brett Jeffries from EOS The World have started going to legal professionals and getting them to sign on. I'd like everybody, if you have lawyer friends who are kind of interested in crypto, to do that. I would love to see us have 20 people, wanting to call Reg Arbitrator from 4 or 5 countries at minimum, just at launch. So that's important. We've also quickly added groups for token reclaiming lost tokens, and we're trying to find an ombudsman to lead that. I've been talking to people. We have a pretty good list of the existing location of the existing groups for that, where we can find people and reach out to them. But it would be great to have somebody take charge of that. So if you're looking for more engagement in the Telos world, or new people looking to come in, that'd be a great place to go. And then worker proposals actually is going to get its own group, and so we'll need shares for all 3 of those. Sorry, I should shout out earlier.
Okay, thanks a lot again. A lot going on in Slack. I missed the fact that you could add the extra channels down the side, but it's a big shout out to Slack. We are managing there, but that's something just to keep an eye on. Make sure you've got all the channels showing in there, because that was a mistake I made this week. So can we move on then to network maintenance? If somebody wants to come in on that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of it's already been covered, but we've got 29 VPs on the test net right now. We're going to hit 1 million blocks today on 2.0. One of the problems that we had talked about on our call yesterday that Doug was kind of alluding to is that unvoting right now with the whale account, the 15% account that we used to activate, actually deactivates the network. And the devs are working on a fix for that. We had previously talked about doing testing of the weighted voting and the auto rotation till the 1st of September. And I think we're going to propose that we push that out another week till we can get this fixed and actually see the weighted voting work. And that's pretty much it.
But that's more of a reporting issue right now, right? It's these things, JT, I think the consensus is that those are actually working, but there's a reporting issue, or maybe we shouldn't talk about that in depth here.
Yeah, we can take it offline.
Okay. Anybody else want to come in on network maintenance? Are we okay with that? I've got a shake of the head from Jerry. Oh, you've disappointed me. I'm expecting one of your snappy one-liners.
He said it all.
Oh, I don't believe it. Surely not. Okay, no worries. So onboarding. Johnny, discover Telos. Do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, there's not a ton to update this week. So I just want to say thanks to all the people who did reach out over the past week, looking for to help out in this channel with some of the processes. Sukesh provided a good document for us to work on. Right now, Mark and I are kind of gathering together all the discussions that we've had and some of the documents that have been put together to sort of formalize a process from top to bottom. And so we expect to get that done this week. But so far, the application seems to be working fine, and we're continuing to onboard people, and all is well there. So
great. Thanks for that. Thanks for your work on that. It's really important, and we obviously get as many people working. We get the right people working for us. I know we sort of put a call out for getting great people to work for us. So I think we've got a great talent pool, and we're adding to it all the time. Anybody else want to comment on that? We're okay. Right. I need peripheral vision because I get people typing on this screen and then checking out what's going on that screen. So whereabouts have I got down to? So I'm looking at security. Azad, you're on the call. Do you want to chat us through your BP infrastructure requirements document?
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon all. This document has been in the works for a couple of weeks now. We requested feedback, criticism, challenges, which we received. It's written from a neutral point of view, from someone who's kind of trying to wear a number of hats. So one is like a block producer, one from someone who is part of the foundation, and from someone from the point of view of a client or a customer. So in general summary, the way block producer minimum requirements was being discussed was purely based on performance or availability of the infrastructure. What was lacking was the security view. So this document paid special attention to what security measures or controls need to be put in place. So the infrastructure as a whole is resilient, is available. The data confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability aspects are presented in such a form that it's related to the EOS IO components. So there is a lot of, a number of diagrams in there which attempts to do that mapping, try to explain it, especially to folks who are not familiar with risk management or compliance or technology controls point of view. So hopefully I've done a good job. So there were some challenges, especially in terms of ideas that I've tried to introduce of how collectively the Telos community can provide a secure infrastructure. Then it goes into some detail in terms of breakdown of those components, a sample network diagram. As we all know, this can be done in so many different ways. So it's not really forcing VPs to follow a specific network architecture, but it is being used, the diagram in there, just to explain the concepts. Basically, the way it breaks it down in terms of levels. If you are a BP at level 1, 2, or 3, you are welcome to join. These are, again, one of the points that needs to be discussed and agreed upon. But if you are at level 6, then you are one of the best ones in terms of security. Performance and other things is obviously they are dependent on where you are in the global internet in terms of response times, pings, availability of your node to users who are on the other side of the world. These are all lots of factors that play into the overall performance. So the main purpose of this document is to say you're welcome to join as a BP at this level, but be aware that there are security conditions that you may have to meet going down the line. So some of it is inspirational and also trying to guide Telos as an infrastructure in the direction of where we are at a point that we can provide it as a professional service, a secure infrastructure, possibly for corporate clients or businesses that regulations apply to them. You're welcome to read it if you haven't read it. So there was a lot of feedback, some feedback, some criticism, and that resulted into revision of this document. And I believe we want to present this to the external world at some point. So when we're ready and we collectively say we agree with the majority of this, or we're happy to go along with that, then we would like to publish it soon. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Azad. I think that excellent work has been done here by everybody. Starting with you, and then everybody's feedback. This is one of the model documents for actually bringing a lot of opinions and experiences and making a really good document out of this. One thing we haven't talked about quite yet, or maybe just to clarify, there's also going to be disclosure elements to this. It's not just technical. There will be minimum requirements that like we've said before. You have to say who owns who your owners are, and we are since we don't think we've discussed this topic in the broader meeting yet. If you haven't seen this, we are strongly considering from a compliance point of view, but also because it makes it much better to not be able to for somebody to be penalized and then come back and open up a new BP, or for us to make sure that nobody is breaking the rule about owning multiple block producers, right? Like we see elsewhere. We are looking at requiring a form of ID verification, not pictures of your driver's license hash on chain, but hashed from a third-party service. And one of the things we're looking at is requiring all BP owners to do this, to have their identity verified, requiring all arbitrator candidates to have their identity verified, and probably having the people who have the power to actually process merge requests on the code base to have their identities verified. I think these are very important roles, and personally, I'm a little surprised that just any that we're trusting this or these roles to people who we don't know who they are. And while that's kind of good in the spirit of crypto, if we are actually wanting to say that we have compliance and that we want to attract real businesses to Telos, I think they're going to demand that. So we're trying to get out ahead of compliance with that. And I just want to make sure anyone who wasn't aware of that it's on your radar, because we should have a good discussion about that.
These are very good points. Do we want to keep that out of scope of this particular document, because it's really dealing with infrastructure?
Right. So I think the only reason I mention any of that, and I don't want to dive too deep into it, but it's mostly about infrastructure, but I think we are calling it the minimum requirements, right? So we should perhaps call that out as being the minimum infrastructure requirements.
Yeah. I mean, that's the title of the document. It says Telos block producer infrastructure requirements. That was changed.
Be more clear than that. Okay, thanks, Azad. Somehow I missed that.
Otherwise, this document can run into like 10 pages. And also possibly if we're split up in terms of the scope, then we can make references to these individual documents in the network agreement.
Absolutely. I think that's the way to go. And I apologize for somehow missing the obvious there. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it changed, so it's with everything is going on. So in terms of this particular document, how much more time do you want to give for everyone to review it again and give us their final feedback?
Well, my own personal feeling is I think it'd be great to get that out this week. I think so much work has happened on it. Maybe give people 24 hours to jump in if they haven't had any if they don't feel like they've had the level of input they want. What do you think? I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important because it could be viewed as one of those documents that we're adding, but it is an important one. And if you are on the call, if you haven't read it, or if you think someone from within your group, your team needs to read it, then please do. Let's set the deadline 24 hours from now. If there is nothing in there in terms of a showstopper or anything that anyone feels really strongly against one of the points in there or requires clarification, then we should really go out with it within 24 hours. Well, 24 hours.
Okay, so that sounds like you're moving to do that, and I would second that movement that we do 24 hours. This is an item that if it's done and out in public by the time our the Thursday weekly report goes out, this would be definitely a highlight item for me. So I would love that. Jim?
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. So we'll say 24 hours, and then we can obviously keep an eye on it goes on it in Slack, and then it can go into Douglas's report unless we get anybody saying otherwise. Yeah, we've got to motor through quite a few of these documents, so we don't want to be giving ourselves lots and lots of hurdles once a few people have had a good look at it. Unless you are really, really going to take against it, then let's get this process moving and moving forwards. Okay, I'm looking at, we've got 3 more on the agenda, which is translations. Chen and Beth, I don't know whether there's nothing on the thing, whether you want to do any reports or not. I'm guessing not. Chen?
Yeah, there's nothing much to report on the translation group. This week, Azad and Ramraj joined to help us with the French and Indonesia translation. So thank you very much. That's great. But other than that, there's not much to report, unless Beth has something that you want to say.
No, I don't think so. She's not.
Nope.
Great. Cheers, Beth. Okay then, so I've got the one we've got here is the RAM group and Douglas. There's nothing in there. I don't know whether you want to make any
No,
comments.
just briefly, we continue to look at RAM, right? We feel like we have 2 really strong issues, two really strong approaches, tools to deal with RAM speculation, but it's going to be an ongoing issue probably for the lifetime of EOS and Telos, that optimizing how we deal with RAM. This is happening. I have actually a very large document that I am going to be bringing out, but it looks into it's probably is a 3-part document, that the 3rd part of which looks deeply into the RAM token, how that's traded, additional ways to look at the Bancor token, and perhaps making RAM a transferable or splittable token. I would love for anybody who has strong thoughts about that to join me, and we'll talk about that in RAM. Already have had some really good conversations from Peter Buice and Ed and Craig on the Telos team, and also from Jesse at Kalios has contributed some fantastic thoughts there. So I invite anybody who has thoughts there to join RAM.
Okay, thanks for that. Martin, social media, I see we've got CJ on the call. Do you want to say anything, CJ? There's nothing written, but do you want to give us a heads up on what's going on?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
You're a bit muffled, but yeah, okay.
I'm switching microphones. So is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, as you guys know, and somebody mentioned earlier, that we are starting a program. It's using some community reserved community rewards for when Telos launches, approximately 40% of the potential number of tokens created will be held on exchanges. So for those in the community who opted to keep their ERC20 tokens on an exchange, they can still get their Telos tokens, and anyone can earn more by encouraging and calling out exchanges to list Telos. So this afternoon, the program's going to go live on the Telos Foundation website, and anyone in the community can learn more about how to participate and to join the campaign. So it's pretty exciting, and we want everyone to get their tokens.
That sounds great. I just got most of that. I don't know if anybody got. It's a bit muffled, but I got most of that. So sounds like you're doing a great job on that, and we need to keep pushing on that. Obviously, are you getting enough through from the groups regarding easy wins that we mentioned last week? Or I've got a shake of the head there. So again, another call out. If we could get some information to the marketing team. Obviously, Douglas is a weekly report, but the more we get out there, the better, I guess. Okay, then. There have been a few questions. I'm trying to monitor the Zoom group chat. There's been a few questions in the Zoom group chat that have come from the YouTube chat. I'm going to resist the temptation to answer those on the call, because the only reason I'm saying that is that what would happen there is that we would just have a Q&A from the YouTube channel, which, I mean, I'm happy to do that, but it's not actually on the agenda. So I don't know if we've got people monitoring the YouTube call who can then answer those questions in that, in that environment. Otherwise, we'll I'm not saying hijacked, that's a strong word, but the agenda will get taken over by the YouTube channel, which is not really what we're after. But obviously, we're happy to answer any questions in that channel, and hopefully we've got people doing that. So I've got down the date for the next call, surprisingly, the 4th of September at the same time, 1500 UTC, which I must remember is 4 o'clock for me. If there is anything else that anybody wants to talk about, then we have got a few minutes. We've skipped through this really quick, which I think is actually a good thing, because I know that there's a hell of a lot going on, and we just seem to be getting on with it rather than necessarily talking about it, which I think is quite a strong message. So if anybody wants to come in with anything other than that, I'm saying same time next week. Thanks, Phil and Adam, for all your work regarding the agendas, etc. Cheerio.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
I'll see you on the calls, guys. I'll be there.
See you on the calls.
Cheers, everybody. See you next time.
Bye. All.
Cheers. Bye.
Yes.